Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new, my name is Alexandra Anele. Welcome. I did get a bunch of requests from you guys to do an updated nose contour video. I'm constantly working on this process, so hopefully this will help some of you guys. So we are going to be starting off with, I like to contour my nose with creams. We're just jumping right into it, you guys. Let's just go. I do have, there's a little bit of controversy surrounding this product and my channel. I'm going to be using the KKW Beauty Contour Stick. Just really quick aside, if you happened to see my video where I review these products, I didn't like them. I didn't like the first launch. I hated the double-ended. They broke really easily. A little bit later on, she launched some new shades. Now, the shade that I'm gonna be using is one of those more recent ads, I guess. It's the shade Light Medium. When I noticed that she launched new shades, I was really intrigued by this one in particular, which I will show you. I just think that it's the most perfect contour color. I don't know why the camera's having such a hard time focusing on that right now. It's really flattering on multiple skin tones, I think, multiple undertones. I am very, very fair, obviously. And I'm also very olive. Like I have extremely green undertones. So it's definitely the best, like straight out of the, I was gonna say tube, stick color that I've been able to find. Most of the time I have to add some kind of a like green color to make it fit my face. Anyway, I use this when I'm fair skinned, when I have a tan. It's fantastic. It's a very universal shade. It's also a single, so it's not like dual ended. And as long as you're very careful with it, it doesn't break as easily. I do, for the most part, I'll just kind of like put it up that much, and then I usually pick it up with a brush, so I don't really go in with just the stick. Yeah, so I have my like base on. I did foundation, concealer, and then I already contoured my face with creams. So I like to apply a first layer of concealer to begin with. Then I go in and contour my nose. So I already did that step. The brush that I'm going to be using, there are a few that are very similar. So this is a Morphe brush. It doesn't have a name. It's from their gold and black collection, but it's just this little flat shader brush. And if you're familiar with City Color Cosmetics, they have the CCB 103 brush that is very similar. It might be like a tiny bit smaller. I don't know why, I just kind of like gravitated towards this and I've been using this one. I really like it. You might only be able to get it in the set, I'm not sure. What I like about this formula is that you can pick up quite a lot of product, but it shears out really nicely. So it's really great for contouring. So I'm picking it up on the tip of the brush. My nose, I'm just gonna give you a good old view of my nose. So I have a big bump here. It's also very crooked. You can kind of see it goes this way. So I like to straighten it and narrow it a bit. And it's also very straight. So I kind of like to, and it doesn't go down. It's just very like straight. It just goes like that, you know what I mean? So I like to actually kind of like lift the tip a little bit more. So what I do is rather than shading this whole under part, I place the shade here. So I start off by placing a shadow right there. So what this does is it kind of like creates the illusion that the tip of my nose is up here rather than like right there. So I'm kind of like cutting off the tip of my nose, if that makes sense. And then I'm gonna leave this part undone for right now. So I start off with that. The tip of my nose is not so refined. I kind of wish it were a little bit more refined. The bump in my nose isn't really like, doesn't really bother me that much. It's more the tip. Like I like a little nose. Like I wish it was just a little bit more like, you know what I mean? So I'm gonna pick up some more. I was gonna say a little bit more, but I'm not really. I'm picking up kind of a lot. What I do is I like to kind of turn here so you can see like this bump right here probably. So I wanna bring it in. That's where I'm like gonna replace the tip. I know it's gonna look messy for a minute, just bear with me. And then I'm gonna drag this up to my brow, and I'm using the side view of my nose as kind of a guide. So I wanna bring this in just a little bit so that we can create that like straight line, blend up into my brow. So that shape is already fine. Most of the time I don't even really bring it up there. I'm just showing you for example. And then I do the same thing on the other side. So I'm gonna, now this is a little bit different because it kind of goes in here, but then I do have a more severe like sharp edge right there. It's really hard when you got a bumpy nose. So I'm gonna try to straighten this part out. And then once again, and I usually I don't even bring it up there, so I might actually like just erase that. So what I do is I wipe off my brush right here. If you look at me, like squint, look at my face, you can see how much more refined the shape of it looks. I feel like a lot of influencers or makeup artists have talked about this, especially Nikki Tutorial. She has a great one, but she's already got a cute little nose, so fuck her. Anyway, by putting darkness on the side of your nose, it actually makes it look much larger. Basically, you want to put it as close together as possible when you want your nose to appear more narrow. So now what I'm gonna do is, like I said, I wiped off my brush and I'm gonna kind of like pat and blend. And then at any point in time, if I feel like I've picked up a little too much product, or if there's still just like too much product on my brush, I'll wipe it off. And what I wanna do is kind of like blur that line, but I don't wanna lose it. So it's best to go really slow so that you're not just like creating kind of like a muddy mess. So I'm kind of pulling down because I wanna keep that light line. Like I wanna keep the shape that we created. So I'm gonna turn my face, pulling downward. This is, don't we look like, I look like Squidward right now, one step at a time. Now what I'm gonna do is I wiped off my brush again and I'm gonna blend this area, kind of like that. Like I'm turning my brush and then I'm just blending it. Kind of like that, so that it's like blending a little bit more into the rest of my skin. Same with here, just barely, because I don't want to pull that down too much. I have this pointy brush, I always call it a brush. I have this pointy sponge. This is the top of the Elcie Cosmetics Velvet Sponge. This is super popular. You guys are always asking me about this. I already used this underneath my eyes to apply my concealer, so it's got a little bit of concealer on it. So I'm gonna take it and then kind of like tap in any areas where I need to remove darkness. Okay, it was a little heavy there. So I'm not using any additional concealer. I'm just using whatever's left over on the brush. Sponge, really lightly blend over that, because I kind of like to widen this area. And then, see, I went a little bit this heavy, so I need to fix that. Damn it, this would happen when I'm doing a tutorial. So I'm gonna kind of like drag that over to my left side a little bit more to even that out. So now I have the exact shape that I want. I swear this does not go this slow. I do this so quickly when I'm by myself, not talking about it. I'm gonna blend up this part. And I like to keep this area of my nose light, because it actually kind of like upturns your nose a little bit. Because like I said, we're creating sort of like a false tip. So it's making it look like the tip of my nose is like, pew, you know what I mean? Oh, Ziva's so cute right now. She's all curled up in a ball to the left. Ziva. She always does this when I film. All right, anyway, now I'm gonna take my Huda Beauty sponge, which I applied my foundation with. So it has like, I don't know if you can see. Yeah, there's like a tiny bit of foundation there. I'm going to gently pat over everything. So this is gonna help blend it without getting rid of it completely. And I'll focus it like in areas where I really wanna blend. So like up there, it doesn't really need to be that defined. And I'm using such a light hand. So now if I feel like I lost any areas, like the only area that I really like to keep is like, I like to go in a lot here because of the bump in my nose. So I might just pick up a tiny bit more, kind of refine that little area right there. It's a lot of work, it's a lot of trial and error, but it's something that I like can't live without. So that's the part that I really like to narrow. The more you turn, you can kind of see like, oh, I need to connect this area. A lot of padding, not adding too much product. And then I love having this sponge so that like if areas become like a little, like there's a little too much product, you can just tap it out. So this is a little bit, I would probably blend this out maybe like a little bit more, but you can kind of see like the shape that we've created. Now another thing that I like to do with the contour shade is pick up just like a tiny bit. I might like pat that off a little. Wherever I want like the new tip of my nose to be, the new tip, I'll just pat like this to kind of like close it off. Here's the really tricky part. Applying light shades on the side of your nose. So I'm going to be using a little bit more concealer. Now, because I'm a dark circle person, like I just need that coverage, so I'm always applying more concealer. So the concealer that I use is the Benefit Boiing Cakeless Concealer. This is in the shade number 3. This is pretty light. It's like a natural light for my skin right now. If I want to like really go in, I would use number 2. So it's really kind of like up to you how natural you want it, but I would definitely suggest using something like 1 or 2 shades at least lighter than your skin tone. I'm going to apply this right here. Since I already applied concealer like all the way up, I like to put it kind of just where I need like the coverage. Now I'm going to be using, where did it go? The Elcie Cosmetics Light Medium Setting Powder. This is fantastic for baking, especially like, this is light medium. It's super fair and it's fantastic for brightening. I have this brush. This is from MAC. It's the 240S. Fantastic. This is what I use to set underneath my eyes. So I'm gonna pick up a little bit of that powder, and then I just like to re-wet my sponge. So I'll re-wet it and then tap it on the back of my hand so it's not like gonna pull off any product. What I like to do is focus this like right here. Do you see how much different that looks? So I'm gonna bring it right up to the edge of my nose, like the side. I don't wanna bring it up too high because then it can kind of look like a little strange. It ends up making this, like you want it to blend. It might end up making this look more like a line. Basically what I'm doing is making, or creating the appearance that this part of my face is just part of my, like my under eye. So we're kind of like minimizing the appearance of my wide bridge. I'm taking it right there. A nice rule of thumb is to take it kind of like to the center of your nostril, going up to like the inner corner of your eye, right like that. You can see how much different that looks. And then I'm gonna do basically the same thing with the powder. I'm gonna focus it, because I'm setting my eyes, right, my under eyes. I'm gonna focus it like under my eyes for my dark circles to begin with. But I'm bringing it right in there because I get darkness in there. I'm gonna place it, that powder, right in the area where we placed that concealer. And you can see how bright that looks. Like it all looks seamless. It just looks like part of my under eye. So it's really lightening up the sides of your nose. That's gonna make it all come together and make your nose actually look smaller. And then if I feel like, oh, that's like maybe a little bit dark, I'll go kind of like over that, you know, like blend into that a little bit. But you can see the difference, it's crazy. This side, the bone comes out, like I said, my nose kind of goes this way. I'm bringing it right up here. And if you want your like tip to look a little more narrow, you can bring this in a little higher maybe. Concealer face, you know what I mean? So right now I have kind of a distinct line. This side of my nose gets a little tricky. And then this side is a little bit more like I said, it's a little trickier. So I have a little bit more of a defined line. So I'm just gonna kind of like pat over that line. But hopefully you guys can see the difference. Now what I'm going to do, because it is a little intense, and like if it were for just video like this, if I'm not like all up in your face, or if I'm doing direct sunlight, or if I'm doing just photos, I would leave it like this defined, or like an event, I would leave it this defined, because like at night you can kind of get away with it, but like it is a little bit obvious. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm going to take my Huda Beauty sponge once again that I applied my foundation with, and I like to run over it with a little bit of translucent powder. So I'm using the Kylie Cosmetics translucent powder because that's what I use to set the rest of my face. Basically just like, I like it because it's kind of yellow toned. It just works for my skin tone. So I'm gonna pick up some powder and I'm gonna pat it on the back of my hand. So I'm not going in with way too much. I'm going to really lightly blend over everything. This is also just going to set everything, but it softens those lines. So just really lightly. And then in any areas where you feel like, oh, I really need to soften that, you can do that. My other trick, and some people hate this, some people really like it, I can't really get away from it, is highlighting. You can see all of the powder on my nose hairs. So what I do is this brush I'm loving for highlighting my nose, by the way. This is the Monica brush from Hank and Henry Beauty. I've been obsessed with all of his brushes. I guess I'll just use Becca Moonstone since it's right here. I actually opened up a fresh Becca Moonstone. Wow, I'm so fucking chatty. All I've had is espresso. Okay, so I'm gonna pick up a little bit on the tip. Fresh Becca Moonstone, just saying. I'm gonna tap it off. And then what I'm gonna do is, so remember we kind of created like the tip up here. I like to kind of like look, like where does the light hit naturally? So we created the tip like up here. And I don't want to take this highlight like way too high, otherwise it can look very unnatural. Like if I want the tip to be like way up here and I put the thing like way up here, it's gonna look real obvious, you know what I mean? So we kind of created the tip right here. So I will put it maybe on the lower end of that. So I'm gonna just, and because I'm trying to refine the tip, I'm not gonna put it all over the tip of my nose. I'm just gonna keep it like right there. I'm gonna really go in on this just so you guys can like see the difference. Doesn't it look so cute? I love it. That's like way more than I would usually do, just saying. But then another trick that I like to do is to make it look a little bit more straight. Highlight this area, because if you put highlight in here, it kind of brings that forward, so it creates a little bit more of the like ski jump effect because my nose is so straight. So I like to really go in with this highlight and I'll kind of like put it everywhere. And then I'll drag it down like that much, not going all the way, but just keeping it like the farther down the nose we get, I'm keeping it more concentrated, like keeping it more thin. Yeah, and then sometimes, if you want to get real crazy, I'll go back in with my concealer and I'll just lighten this area up a little bit more. If I feel like that got a little dark, just because like I said, it kind of helps to like lift it. I don't know if that really made a difference. All right, guys, so this is it. Hopefully this helped you guys. If you are looking for people, look for influencers who have a similar nose shape to you. Carly Bible really helped me a lot. She and I have sort of a similar nose shape, so her contour technique really helped me. If you have any suggestions, products, technique, brushes, anything, please let me know in the comments down below. I'm constantly evolving with my nose contour, okay? It's really hard. Like I said, I'm all bumpy, you know, like this is very difficult for me. This is about as good as I've gotten it. I still have my critiques, but you know what I mean? Like I'm not Makeup by Mario over here, okay? Or Makeup by Samuel or whoever, like all the fucking Patrick Ta, all those people. I'm not one of them. I would love the opportunity to have one of them contour my nose. That'd be amazing. Anyway, I really hope that you enjoyed this video. Hopefully it helped you. If you have any tips for me, please tell me. And yeah. Let's squash the KKW Beauty Contour Stick beef. It's over. I'm a believer. I apologize. I was wrong. I was a little right, but I was also wrong. I was a little right. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. Hopefully, I will see you in the next one.